I've had a few thoughts about the Trump-Biden debate and the coronavirus thing that I've shared in other places, but I just wanted to get them onto video here. The debate performance was something like I've never seen before, but I've thought about it, and here's what I think. The thing about debates, it seems like debates generally don't move the polls that much if they go normally. And in fact, it was pretty clear in 2016 that Hillary won all 3 debates, but still didn't manage to win the Electoral College. Debates don't necessarily mean that much, except when there's some kind of a viral moment. Think of Chris Christie dismantling Marco Rubio's presidential campaign in the Republican primary in 2016. Or think of Kamala Harris sticking it to Joe Biden during the Democratic primary this year about busing. Or the old 1988 "You, sir, are no Jack Kennedy." I think that Donald Trump and maybe also Joe Biden were trying for a moment like that. And I think that explains a lot of what happened there. Donald Trump was 7 to 9 points behind in the polls at the time of the debate. He needed a knockout punch. And I think he was trying for one by acting that way. Joe Biden doesn't need a knockout punch. If he just plays a safe game, he can get through the debates and still have a 7 to 9 point lead. The longer he has that, the harder it is for Donald Trump to make it up. So, strategy-wise, I think both candidates were coached to try and goad the other into losing their composure. That's the only way I can understand what I saw on that stage. If they could goad the other into shouting and screaming, turning red in the face, or stumbling over their words, getting flummoxed, that would be the viral moment, and Twitter would declare them the winner of the debate. Trump had a lot more to gain than Biden because he's behind so far, so that partly explains why he was so aggressive, and also the fact that people already expect Trump to lie, so that's not a big surprise either that he was lying so much. But by trying so hard, that if he was trying to get a rise out of Joe Biden, that explains why he'd go all the way down to taking jabs at Hunter Biden. It all makes sense then. Failing to land that knockout punch, that viral moment where Joe Biden, stumbles over his words and confirms the dementia accusation or whatever, failing that, Trump's second best case scenario was to drag Joe into a shouting match or an exchange of insults, for a few reasons. Number one, by doing all that interrupting, by being so nasty, Trump looks like he's in control because he decides who talks just by interrupting everyone. He grabbed the initiative away from the moderator that way. His image is a guy who dominates every room, so this is on brand. If Joe engages these kinds of provocations, Trump wins again because nobody is going to beat Donald Trump in a contest to be the most nasty. So that's letting Donald Trump choose the playing field. And as the old folk wisdom goes, when you wrestle a pig, all you get is dirty, and the pig likes it. For another thing, he got us talking about his behavior instead of talking about his taxes, 200,000 dead Americans from COVID, bounties on U.S. soldiers, economic problems, the Senate's failure to pass a relief bill, any of that stuff. And it's clear that Donald Trump would rather we talk about his manners than his failures. Finally, if Joe Biden loses the high ground, that both sides suck narrative gains a little more ground, and that might depress some voters, which, again, a depressed electorate, a low voter turnout, is good for Donald Trump. Statistics say it tends to be good for conservatives. And also, whatever shenanigans he might be planning might get washed away in a landslide, but they might be decisive in a closely fought election. Now, in a way, it's crazy that we're having a debate at all this year, because the idea of a debate is to persuade undecided voters. But after 4 years of Trumpism, Are there any undecided voters? We've seen who this guy is. We've seen what he does. And really, the people who like him are ride or die for him. The people who don't like him have made up their minds. I just get a weird feeling that the median voter or the undecided voter is a very, very small number this year, and probably not relevant compared to the importance of getting your voters out to the ballot box. I think that energizing your voters or mobilizing your voters is more important than persuading undecided voters this election. In 2016, Donald Trump had to win over some voters. And during the debates, he said a few rehearsed lines about abortion and a few lines about Supreme Court judges that were planned out. It was quite obvious when I watched, but they were planned out to woo evangelicals to vote for him. Now, evangelicals, they already disliked Hillary and they were inclined to vote for him anyway, so they only needed a small nudge. This year, though, it doesn't seem like he's taking any kind of strategy. I think he's just winging it and following his instinct. And to be honest, I have a feeling the Republican Party is just letting him because, well, if you look at the Republican convention, they just basically said, well, yeah, we're with him this year. They didn't unveil any new strategies or policies. They just kind of said, yeah, we support Donald Trump. We're with this guy, which to me sounds like them throwing up their hands. Trump's going to trump no matter what they do anyway. So he goes with his instinct. And what we saw in that debate was Trump going on his instinct. His instinct is to rile up his base. And that makes him feel good. It ensures their loyalty. He's got his mobs ready. He's got his cues and his dog whistles ready. If he's planning shenanigans, he's told them to stand by. Those median voters, I don't think he cares about them anyway. Those undecided voters, well, they're not at his rallies shouting his name, so, they can hang. With 200,000 people dead from COVID, Trump has already shown us that he doesn't care about anybody who isn't directly helping him get reelected. So, frankly, I think pigs will fly before you see Trump trying to woo the median voter. The other thing that was revealed, it wasn't part of his strategy, but we saw this, is something else. One podcaster I listened to, Ezra Klein, maybe it was 538, kind of said Trump basically broke the debate by making it so unpleasant and by not following the rules. He rendered it useless and unpleasant. He made people wonder if it's worth having two more of these, just by ignoring the rules. This shows us something about him, in case we didn't already know, and that is this. If Donald Trump is losing, he is perfectly willing to destroy any institution he can grab at on his way down. He wrecked the presidential debate, which has been an institution since, I think, the 70s. And he will wreck the institution of free and fair elections if he can. Now, I've been doing some reading. I don't think he can. In particular, if Joe Biden's people, if Democrats and people who can't stand Trump turn out, I don't think any electoral shenanigans will stop a landslide. But if it's a closely fought election, we've already seen that Trump plans for things to go to the Supreme Court, which means he's going to pull out every trick in the book. And after all that, news came out that Donald Trump and the First Lady have COVID-19. Now, one of the things that really struck me about this is how sad it is that we can't even trust a health update coming out of the White House anymore. So many lies about so many things, for so many reasons, that we can't even take a health update in good faith. I've seen on Facebook and other social media conspiracy theories from people who are usually sensible. Michael Moore has said, remember that this guy lied about his health before. And so instead of just saying, whoa, he's sick, I hope he gets better, we've got crowing about karma and things like that, which is a little mean-spirited. And we've also got all kinds of conspiracy theories about, well, it's because he plans to have a triumphant return with a vaccine in his hand 3 days before the election to try and swing the election that way. He's lied about his health before, but we don't even know whether he's lying to downplay how sick he is in order to seem more invincible, or whether he's overplaying how sick he is in order to be able to claim, well, I was sick, so it's not fair that Joe Biden beat me in this election, to further delegitimize Joe Biden win. What we do see for sure is that even in the wake of a debate where Trump made an ass of himself, and the whole world should have looked at that, or all of America should have looked at that and said, good God, is that what we want to have in the halls of power representing the United States at the UN, or talking to ambassadors and other world leaders? But instead of talking about that, we're talking about Trump and COVID. Once again, the whole conversation is about him, which means that he's sucked up any momentum Joe Biden might have gained. It's been sucked up either by the COVID news or by people saying, oh, it's not fair play for you to keep campaigning when Donald Trump is in quarantine. I've heard some conspiracy theories that maybe he's going to resign for health reasons so that Pence gets to take the election loss rather than Trump. I've heard conspiracy theories that he's going to fake his own death in order to get away from those creditors to whom he owes $400 million, as well as to try and escape the consequences of his corrupt presidency and all of the hearings and perhaps prison time that would come out of that. I've heard a lot of conspiracy theories, and I'm really sad that rather than just going, oh, the president is sick, we hope he gets better, instead, we're all manufacturing these castles of supposition and speculation in the air because there's just so little good faith left. I don't think Trump was lying about having corona. Michael Moore said he's lied about his health before, but every time he's lied about his health before, it's been in the other direction to sound stronger or tougher than he is. This time, this idea that even your tough guy leader can get coronavirus goes completely against his brand, his image, the thing that his Proud Boys love him for. The idea that even Trump has to face consequences, even Donald Trump reaps what he sows and can't bully his way out of every corner, that contradicts his whole selling proposition. Looking weak in any way is anathema to his image, and it's why the tax story was so damaging, because he's not as rich as he said. It's why he'd rather incite violence than admit losing an election, and it's why he interrupted Biden so many times, so that Joe Biden couldn't remind people of how many ways he's failed as president. Catching a bug is the ultimate your tough guy savior isn't tough after all, disruption of his image, and I don't think he'd play that as a trick. Not to mention, I just don't think he has the subtlety for it. The fact is, for as much as Trump lies, most of his lies that work are not long cons. He doesn't play roles or go through elaborate gestures. Most of his lies that work are the kind of lies that can be uttered in 1 or 2 sentences. If he tried a long scheme, I think we'd see through it. Because let's also admit that we already know that he's a lying liar who lies. And when he starts telling a lie, he starts talking in this musing way where he just gives himself away just while musing about things. So, no, I don't think he is lying, and I don't think he could tell a lie this elaborate. That doesn't mean he won't try to play this COVID case to his advantage, rushing his recovery to seem abnormally strong and resilient, turning into a walking ad for whichever drug he's now peddling with his buddy, the CEO of whichever drug manufacturer. I'm sure that there's going to be sniping about any media outlet or commentator who says something he doesn't like. And I'm also sure that the MAGA hats will be out there doing their thing. And I expect the online atmosphere to just get even more toxic than it was before. Gloating isn't a good look. Some of the jokes are funny, and frankly, some of the contempt is deserved, but it's still not a good look, and it will be remembered. Gloating isn't a good look. People online are wishing Trump to be incapacitated for longer. Some people are even wishing that he would die. I don't want that. I don't want COVID-19 to kill him because he doesn't deserve to become a martyr. A martyrdom would elevate Trumpism to a status it doesn't deserve, and it would make it stick around much longer. Rather, what came to my mind was the movie Troy, where Eric Bana's Hector and Brad Pitt's Achilles are having the climactic fight at the end. And at one point, Achilles, who's already kind of shown that he's the better warrior, shoves Hector and he trips on a rock. And rather than press that advantage, Achilles says,
"Get up, Prince of Troy. Get up. Won't let a stone take my glory."
Achilles wants Hector on his feet. He wants to beat Hector at his best, so everyone knows that Achilles is better. And for America to get past Trumpism and all the toxic, gross stuff that's come out because of it, Trump needs to come back healthy, give his best shot, and still lose. We don't want the MAGA hats claiming no fair he was sick, like a high school student with a late paper and a doctor's note. I want Trump to be beaten fair and square, and the world and America need to see him and the Republican Party who enabled him face the consequences of his cruelty and corruption. Hearings and the whole shebang. And if he dies of corona, we're cheated of that. I want to see him do a perp walk. Without that, zombie Trumpism will continue. It'll fester, and it'll continue to make America shitty. And the world will see that as well. So, a lot's going on, and we'll see what happens next. I've barely even mentioned the Supreme Court nomination yet, and that's all in midstream as well. But those are my thoughts on Donald Trump's coronavirus. I hope he gets better so that he can lose in a landslide. And touch wood, stay vigilant, folks. Watch the elections. Watch the voting booths. Watch the election shenanigans. Be safe. Protect yourself. And wear a mask.